I said it's just a computer.
Okay. So the first three, I don't even know where my answers are. Just have to figure it out as we go. The first three were the type that we didn't quite get to. That would have been like next, if we had another week, we would have had a quiz over that stuff. But they're really easy. Okay, so what'd you guys get for number one? D. D, I think, is the correct answer. All right. So I'll go through why it's D. Okay, so here's the little formula to find a term. All right, and if you want to find the first five terms, you just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in for n. That's all you got to do. All right, so you know A1 is 7 times 1 minus 2, which is 5. So that eliminates A and B, right? You with me?
Yep.
So on a multiple choice test, you can go a little quicker because you can eliminate possibilities, right? So A and B are eliminated. So A2, this is for the second term. 7 times 2 is 14, minus 2 is 12. And that's the only, D is the only one, and second one is 12, right? So you could have stopped there, right? But all five of them are 5, 12, 19, 26, and 33, which is letter D. So that's all you got to do on there. Just substitute, okay? So it's not really hard, and you should be able to handle that. On this one, this little symbol means this. All the way down to 1. Okay, but that symbol is in your calculator, okay? So you'll just put it in your calculator, all right? All right, so here's how I do it. You know, this means 11, oops, not point, but times 10 times 9 times, all right? So what about this 11, 10, 9 all the way to 1 and this 11, 10, 9 all the way to 1? What happens to them? They'll all cancel. So this is all you're doing, is that, okay? But if you go to your calculator, I'll show you where that is. All right, you want to hit your math button. All right, hit this math button here, and then move over to probability. So I hit the left arrow key once. And see number 4, there's the exclamation point. So you can just put it in the calculator, okay? So let's clear that. To put it in, you have to do 14 first, and then go to math, and then left arrow key once, 4, and that gives you that, divided by, then go back to 11, math, probability, 4, and this to enter. All right, but like I was doing, if I do 14 times 13 times 12, we'll get the same answer. Okay, so you can do it either way, whichever makes more sense to you. All right, it's in these little ones too. The PRB button, I think it'll show up if I hit it, I believe. But if any of you've got that, I'll show you how to do it on there. Should have that graphing one though. All right, number 3. What does sum mean? Add them up, right? So this symbol here, this is the Greek letter sigma. It means to find the sum, okay? And they used I equals 1 and 5, and then they put 2I plus 1 here. So what this is saying is substitute all the numbers 1 through 5 in for I. So you have 5 answers, but then you have to do what? Different from the first one. You have to add all the numbers up. That is what it's telling us to do. Okay? So you're supposed to do 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 equals 3. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. And 2 times 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11. And then you're supposed to add all those up. Okay? So here's 10. And here's 20. Oops. Which is 30 plus the 5. So it's 35. Which is letter C. Number 2 was letter B, by the way. I didn't tell you the letter. But that's how you do that. So you're going to find however many. This first number underneath tells you which number to put in for I, and then the one up here tells you when to stop. And you go in order. Okay, so it meant to put 1 through 5 in for I, and then the part that some kids forget is remember to add them all up. Okay, so those were, we didn't get to that this year, but that would have been, if we had another week of normal school and not exam review, we would have had a quiz on that kind of stuff. Okay? All right, who remembers how to convert from radians to degrees? Multiply by 180 over pi. Okay? And then for number 5, we multiply by pi over 180, right? The other when we go the other way. All right? So number 4, we had 5 pi over 6. So we go times 180 over pi, because what do we want to cancel out? The pi's, right? And then we just do in our calculator, 5 times 180, go straight across, not cross multiply, 5 straight across times 180, then divide by 6. Okay, so it'd be 150 degrees, which was letter E. Okay, so you're not cross multiplying there. You can cross cancel. You can cancel the pi's, right? But you just go straight across. 5 times 180, or if you want to do like I do, I know 6 goes into 180 30 times, because I know 6 goes in 18 3 times, right? So then you can go 5 times 30 and get 150 if you want. That's how I would do it personally, but most of you will just use a calculator, which is fine. Okay, the other one, next one, right, degrees to radians. Again, this is stuff you want to put on that little note card, right? So you know what to do at each problem. Right? So degrees to radians. Here's what I taught you guys. I said make a little bit longer division bar and put the pi here and the 180 here. And then you know you're going to have an answer, a fraction that has pi in it. Okay? Now, you can just put it in your calculator, 300 divided by 180, hit math, fraction, okay? With me, I would just, cancel those out. And I know 6 goes into 30 5 times. And I know 6 goes into 18 3 times. So that'd be my answer. But again, on the calculator, you can just put 300 divided by 180. You're going to get that decimal. You're going to go hit math, and then hit enter twice, and you'll get your 5/3. Okay? Which was letter B. Yes. 4. Yeah.
So what's the equation?
So for 4, you're going to multiply by this fraction, 180 over pi. So we had 5 pi over 6. I multiplied by 180 over pi. And got 150 degrees when I put in the calculator, or if you want to cancel stuff out first.
How does
6 goes into 6 once, 6 goes into 18 3 times, but since it's 180, I make it 30.
the one below that?
Just reduce that fraction. 300 over 180 just reduces to 5/3. I divided the tens out. If something ends in a 0, you can divide them both by 10, so you can just cancel the zeros. And then I knew 6 went into 30 and 18, so I divided both by 6. 30 divided by 6 was 5, 18 divided by 6 was 3. Alan?
Will it be these questions in this order?
Yeah, I think they're pretty close. Number 6, got a right triangle. Okay. And theta was down here. And this was A, this side was B, and this side was C. And I told you that A was 48, and B was 14. Do we need to find C for cosecant? Cosecant is reciprocal of which one? We got sine, we got cosine, we got tangent. Which one does cosecant go with? Nope, sine goes with sine. Secant goes with cosine, and cotangent goes with tangent. Okay? Remember, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so cosecant would be hypotenuse over opposite. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so secant would be hypotenuse over adjacent. And tangent is opposite over adjacent, so cotangent is adjacent over opposite. You know they're reciprocals, right? So I'm doing this, hypotenuse. So I do need the hypotenuse. So how do I find the hypotenuse if I have a right triangle? Nobody's going to tell me, Alan? Yeah, Pythagorean theorem, right? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I have to figure out C by doing that. So I got to go A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And, oh, you know what I did? Since these are both even, I made them smaller. I made this a 24 when I did it, and that is 7. So I did 24 squared plus 7 squared. It works out the same. So I just made them smaller numbers. And 49, oops, this is 49. And this was 576. And when I add those, I get 625. When I take the square root, that gives me a 25. So my sides are A24, B7, and C25. I just reduced it by 2 since they're both even. Made my numbers smaller. And then when I write my fraction, it'll be in lowest terms. So hypotenuse is 25. We're doing cosecant over opposite. Here's theta, so opposite is 7. So that's the answer we're looking for, 25/7, which would have been letter A for number 6. All right, so remember Pythagorean theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Remember, that only works for right triangles, so I think that's all we. Now, we did some law sines and cosines too, didn't we? So some of these aren't right triangles. All right, number 7. This one's kind of tricky because you got to figure out some distance. It says an airplane's traveling 235 miles per hour is descending at an angle of depression of 5 degrees. Okay, so remember, when you look at angle of depression, the plane's flying this way, but if its depression would be this from the horizontal. So that's 5 degrees right there. Is what it's telling you. How many miles will the plane descend in 3 minutes? Okay? So it's going 235 miles per hour. So how do I figure out how much that is per minute? Divided by 60, right? So you gotta do that first to see how far it's going per minute, which comes out to 3.916 repeating miles per minute. All right, so for 3 minutes, you got to multiply that by 3, which comes out to 11.75 miles. Okay, so my little triangle here, if I draw it. Okay, it's like that. And this is the plane traveling, so it's going down a little bit. So this is 11.75. That's the hypotenuse. So how many miles will the plane descend in 3 minutes? Round your answer to the nearest tenth of a mile. So basically descend, meaning how far did it drop from, as it was going, it starts descending at 5 degrees. How far is this drop is what we're looking for. Okay? So I have this angle. Is x opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Here's 5. Is x opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Opposite, right? Straight across is opposite. 11.75, I already told you, is hypotenuse, right? So which one has opposite and hypotenuse in it? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Sine. So we're going to go sine of 5 degrees equals x over 11.75. That's how we're going to figure this out. Remember I told you this, put it over 1, and then cross multiply. X times 1 is x, and sine of 5 degrees. And when you hit the sign, remember you get that in parentheses times 11.75. All right, make sure you're in degree mode, right? So hit your mode button. I'm in degree mode, so I'm good to go. And I'm going to go sine of 5 degrees. So hit my sine button, 5, close it up. And I don't have to put times, but you can. 11.75. So basically a mile. It dropped, which is letter D. Okay? So I had to do a little bit of extra work because you had to figure out how far it traveled in that 3 minutes. You had to divide by 60 because it gave us miles per hour to find the miles per minute. All right, so the point -5, -12. So if I make an XY, which number is this? 8? If I make an XY axis, where's -5, -12 going to be? First, second, third, or fourth quadrant? Third, right? Go left 5 and down 12. So this point here is -5, -12. So remember, I told you to draw a triangle like that. Okay? -5 is the x, -12's the y. Okay? Theta, remember, is always back there. It said determine the exact value of cotangent. All right, so remember, tangent is TOA, right? So cotangent is adjacent over opposite, sorry. Do I need to worry about the hypotenuse on this problem? No, I don't have to do Pythagorean, okay? Adjacent, -5. Opposite, -12. 2 negatives make a positive. That was letter C for number 8. Okay? So, again, to just drawing a picture of a triangle after you figure out where the point is. Remember, your X and your Y are negative, so sometimes these answers are negative. That's okay, according to our picture. This one was positive because we had two negatives. Number 9, I gave you a picture of a triangle. And this was A, B, C. And I told you angle A was 51. And angle B was 70. And side A was 6.1. Remember that sides are opposite the angles. So side A is the one across from the 51. It says use the law of sines to solve the triangle for the value of B. So we're looking here. All right. So law of sines is sine of 51 over 6.1, or maybe you had it flipped. That's okay. So sine of angle A over side A, or side A over the sine of angle A. Okay, so since I have the angles up top, I put sine of angle B over side B. So there's where I'm going to cross multiply and divide, right? B times the sine of 51 equals 6.1 times the sine of 70. So I got to divide by the sine of 51 to get what B equals. So this is what I'm going to type in my calculator. 6.1 sine of 70 divided by sine of 51. 6.1 sine of 70, close it off, remember, divided by sine 51. Again, you got to make sure you're in degree mode, which you should have done already. So 7.4 to the nearest 10th, which was, oh, they have 100th there. So 7.38, letter D. Okay? Right, Gavin?
Absolutely.
Questions? All right, number 10. Another law of sines problem. Again, doesn't matter how you draw it, just make sure you draw a triangle, right? It says angle C is 125, and angle B is 40, and side C is 15, and we have to find the A, which is over here. So you got to do one extra step. What's that extra step that we didn't have to do in the last one? Find the other angle. What do we know about the three angles of a triangle? Add up to 180, right? So 125 plus 40 is 165. That makes this 15 degrees, right? To get to 180. Right, Riley? So I'm going to go sine of 15 over A. And sine of 125 over 15. So I'm going to cross multiply 15 times sine of 15 divided by sine of 125. 15 sine of 15 divided by sine of 125. 4.74, which was letter E. Okay, so that one again, you have to remember that the angles add up to 180. All right, number 11, gave you a picture of it. And it was ABC like this. And you were given A was 9, side A. And side B was 10. And side C was 11. And use the law of cosines to solve for angle B. All right, so we're looking for what this is. All right, that means we got to start with the B squared. All right, so the B is 10 squared, and then it's 9 squared plus 11 squared minus 2 times 9 times 11 times the cosine of angle B. So this is a type where we have to do some math, do some algebra to solve for B. So this is 100, and this is 81, and that's 121, and 18 times 11 is 198, cosine of B. Now, let me just move this over. These you got to add, which is what? 202? Yeah. Now here's where some of us make a mistake. Some of us want to subtract 198 from 202. Can I do that? No. So this is a point where some of us got to remember, I got to subtract the 202 over, because this 198 is being multiplied by that cosine of B, right? So I have to subtract that 202 from 100, which is negative 102. Remember, that's times the cosine of B. So what do I do with that negative 198 then? Divide it. Then you divide it. And you get this decimal. So what's the last step to figure out the angle? Second cosine, second answer, right? And when you do that, second cosine, second answer, it gives you this is 58.99. When you hit second cosine, second answer after you get to here, which was letter D. Okay. 12 is the same type, using law of cosines. They didn't draw the picture for you, you have to, so I'll make it similar to what the other ones are. Side B was 33, and side C was 23, and angle A is 100. All right, it says find the third side, so we're looking for side A. So this is the one you can put all in your calculator. All right, A squared, 33 squared, plus 23 squared, minus 2, 33 times 23 times the cosine, and you can put that 100 in there. And that's going to give you a big number, but you got to remember to do what after you do that? Square root it, right? So I don't have it written down, that number, so I'll have to do it. 33 squared plus 23 squared minus 2, 33, 23, cosine of 100. And then take the square root. So you go second squared, or square root, second answer, so I don't have to type it in. 43.4. And that's that nearest whole number, so 43 would be A. I think that was that, right? 1881, yeah. All right, so there's the 12. Let's do a couple more since we got some time.
Bro, stop.
No, we're going to. All right, so long division. This is something you guys love to do. All right. So I got an x squared minus 4x minus 1 that I'm dividing by. All right. And remember, if there's an x to the 4th, there needs to be an x cubed. There isn't, so you have to write 0x cubed. Minus x squared. There's got to be an x also, but there isn't, so we're going to write 0x and then plus 3. So you have to add those 0x's in so that everything lines up. Now all you got to worry about is dividing the first term by the first term. So what's x fourth divided by x squared? X to the second, right? That goes up here. Now I multiply x to the second times x to the second. X to the second times negative 4x. And x to the second times negative 1. And then what am I supposed to do? Nope. Subtract. So when I subtract those, they cancel. 0 minus a negative 4 is a positive 4, x cubed. And negative 1 minus a negative 1 is plus 1. They cancel, so that's plus 0x squared plus another 0x. So we might as well bring the plus 3 down, right? Let's see what happens. So I start over. What's 4x cubed divided by 1x squared? 4x cubed divided by 1x squared. 4x, yeah. So 4x times 1x squared is 4x cubed. And 4x times negative 4x is negative 16x squared. And 4x times negative 1 is negative 4x. So I don't really need that 3 right now. We'll just keep it out of there. Because 1 doesn't show up yet. I do my subtraction. Those cancel. So 0 minus a negative 16 is positive. And 0 minus a negative 4 is positive 4. And then bring down the plus 3. Now I do 16x squared divided by 1x squared, which is 16 divided by 1 is what?
16.
16. So I put plus 16 up here. Now I multiply again. 16 times 16x, or 16 times x squared is 16x squared. 16 times negative 4 is negative 64x. And 16 times negative 1 is negative 16. And then again, I subtract. Those cancel. And I got minus a negative, so plus 64. So that's 68. Again, I could have probably stopped by now and look at my choices, right? And then my choices match that, the 4x and the 16. Only one of them matches that. Which one is it?
C.
C, yeah. So on this one, you can once you get to where you can tell what the answer is going to be and matches what your choices are, you could do that. But there's our remainder. What that is, letter C. 14's a lot easier. Why? Synthetic, right? So when we do this, x minus 4 becomes what in here?
4.
4, good. That's what makes that equal to 0. So it's positive 4. We got a 5 for the x cubed. We got negative 11 for the x squared. We got negative 38 for the x. And then we got the 8. So we didn't have to add any zeros on this. Remember, make a line, but give yourself some space. Drop the 5 underneath. What do I do with 4 and 5? Multiply them. What do you get? 20. What do I do with these two numbers? Add them. Good. That's 9, right? Then I start over. What's 4 times 9? 36. Now I add these, which is negative 2, right? What's 4 times negative 2? Negative 8. When I add those, what do you get? 0. So there's no remainder. Now remember, this started out as 5x cubed, right? So what's this going to be? X squared, right? Plus 9x minus 2, which is letter B. Okay, so it says for 15, it says use synthetic division and the factor theorem to determine whether or not negative 2x plus 5 is a factor of that polynomial. This actually, this x minus 4 would be a factor because the remainder was what? 0. So for this one, we could say, yes, it's a factor for number 14. For 15, let's see what happens if we get 0 when we do it. Now, since it's negative 2x plus 5, you got to set it equal to 0 to figure out what to put in the little box. What's a negative 5 halves, or negative 5 divided by negative 2? What's 2 negatives?
Positive.
Positive. So in the box, you're going to put this 5 halves. Okay, you're gonna put -6 in for the x cubed, 35 for the x squared, -56 for the x, and then the 15. You don't have to add any zeros. All right, so just multiply the top number. What's 5 times -6? -30. Divided by 2, -15. What am I supposed to do with these? Add them. What's 30 plus 35 plus a -15? 20. What's 5 times 20? 100. Divided by 2, 50. When I add these, what do I get? -6. We got it again, right? We already did this problem. So what's the answer? No, that's down there. What's -15? We get 0. So are we going to say yes or no about this being a factor?
Yes.
We're going to say yes, because the remainder was 0. And you can do that in your calculator. 5/2 times -6. Let's do one more. I wanted to get through 16 today, and tomorrow we'll finish up. Come on, one more. I think we'll have time. Oops, can't write. We're supposed to try to factor that. Okay, what factors of 64 add up to -20? No idea? How about -4 and -16?
Yes.
What are those called? Difference of squares, right?
X plus 4, X minus 4.
No, x plus 2 over here. X minus 2. Over here, x plus 4, x minus 4. So what are all the zeros?
Opposite.
Opposite. So +4, -4, +2, -2. Right? So we found all the zeros by factoring there, which is letter A. Don't have so many to do tomorrow. Thanks for paying attention.